You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 263, and my name is Clark from 5cardguys.com and 5cardguys on Instagram and on YouTube. Co-hosting with me, as usual, and back for 2025 is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards and John, who is Trade You at Recess, both on IG as well. It's another Friday episode, but before we get into our discussion of this episode, I just want to quickly continue this theme of making hobby resolutions for 2025. And if you haven't listened to our final podcast of 2024, Hyung and I mentioned a couple of our own. I also invited our listeners to message me with theirs so I can share them on the pod. And so here's a couple I got via the free weekly newsletter I send out every Monday now, which you can subscribe for and check out each week. I'll put that link in the show notes. But Mr. Collect, he says, quote, "My 2025 sports card resolution is to stick to a budget while focusing on buying raw singles, self-grading, and sending 10s to PSA. The goal is to keep improving my efficiency at flipping for profits so I can reinvest in the cards I really want. This year, I also need to double down on writing more articles about the plays I'm making, breaking down my strategies, targets, and grading approach to help others start collecting on a budget." All great resolutions. It really reminds me of what my initial goals were when I got back into the hobby, just flipping cards to get bigger ones I really wanted, and also providing hobby content. And if you stick with it, you never know, you could end up with a weekly podcast and the opportunity to work full-time as a hobby content creator. So, Mr. Collect, wish you the best of luck. Here's a resolution from Charles. He says, "Do not buy unlicensed products no matter how cheap it will get." Yeah, this one's interesting because I'm really curious to see how basketball cards do once Fanatics/Topps gets the license in 2026. I definitely think some of the unlicensed cards will go down in value, but for Wemby cards, I'm not so sure. It's actually one of my 2025 hobby resolutions, which is to pick up at least one rookie auto of Wemby this year, even if it's unlicensed. And then maybe I'll get another Wemby auto once Topps gets the license the following year. All right, last resolution, and this one is from Ben. He says, "Less ripping, it's not worth it, investing in numbered cards." Yep, that's definitely the smart move. But man, ripping is so much fun. But overall, good resolution, especially if you've been ripping a lot in 2024 and got burned a lot. Thanks again to all those who submitted. And once again, check us out in our newsletter weekly, where we go over more hobby news, links to podcast episodes, and of course, weekly auctions on eBay and Fanatics Collect. All right, let's move on to our Friday discussion. And since it's the first show in 2025 where we're all together, it felt right to talk about Shohei Ohtani together, since we've discussed his cards a ton ever since the beginning of our podcast. So first, there was recent news that a collector from Dallas pulled the 1-of-1 signed Ohtani Topps Dynasty Black card, which featured both the game-used batting glove and the pants that he was wearing from the historic 50-50 game. So it's a monster card. That means there are 2 more 1-of-1 Dynasty Black Relic autograph cards left from that 50-50 game. So question for you guys. I got a box coming that I paid retail price for at $240 US. It's currently at my friend's in New Jersey. And the next time he's coming up is in February, so I got to just wait for it. 10 packs inside. They've been selling for about $400 right now on eBay. So almost double. What do you think I should do? Flip the box?
No.
Or rip?
You got to rip it. What kind of question is that? We're not talking about $4,000, Clark. I mean, I think you're at a point where, how much did you pay for the box? You got it at release.
$240, right? Yeah, $240, yeah.
$160 profit. You can make that on another card, but sorry, was the auto the Logo Man one or the other one? Okay, so exactly. So I
Logo
believe
Man's still out there.
I believe Logo Man is the number one sought after one, right? So we're still in play. You know, if I were you, I would rip it and we would film it, and then worst case, we share it with the audience.
Right. It's content.
I'm using Clark's money and cards right now and speaking for him.
Who are you kidding? You know, I was going to rip anyways. That was just more of a rhetorical question.
Right. I knew your answer. That's why I said it.
Exactly.
But if I ask Paul Hickey, who we had Friday episodes with, I feel like he might side with flipping.
For sure.
That's the smarter move. That's the smarter move, right? But it's not as fun. So... but John, what are you doing? He's more conservative. I want to know what John would do in this situation.
I will probably still rip it with you guys.
Okay.
Like if this was my box coming, you get it for retail. I think it's affordable enough to rip it. Let's have some fun. Do it, man.
It's like a Topps Chrome box.
Yeah, exactly. What's the price point where you would flip the box? 1,000?
Yeah,
probably 800, 1,000, 800,000.
If you bought it for $250, and you can sell it for 8, 9, 1,000. Yeah, you probably flip it at that point.
Yeah, I think that's the right answer. Okay, just wanted to ask you guys. So I'll come over to your studio. I'm gonna get it, and then we'll rip it, and then hopefully we hit the Logo Man.
Yeah,
that'll be great content.
Let me know when you do that, because I'll schedule it so that we get the right equipment to record this.
Okay. In reality, it's going to be 100 base cards or something.
Hey, you never know.
The anticipation. Yeah. All
right. Sorry, Clark. Quick question.
Go ahead.
If you do hit the Logo Man, is it an immediate sell?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
I would say 99%
sure.
yes, but it's an Ohtani card. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that card could be,
and it's from the 50-50, right? Like this is the
yeah. But it's like the Logo Man, so it's like, will it be the future card that people are after in general, because it's the game used Logo Man patch from the 50-50 game, right? So
is this his first Logo Man too? Like
it's his first Logo Man, I believe. Yeah, with an auto.
I might hold. I might hold.
That might be $1 million card.
I think I would sell on the hype, because I feel like Ohtani's going to go 60-60 with a Cy Young or something insane, and then there's going to be an even better one of one that's going to.
I've been burned doubting Ohtani before, but 60-60, that's
insane.
That's like otherworldly, right? How about you, Hyung? What would you do?
I would probably. I don't know, man. Like normally it would be a sell, 100%. Like let's all agree.
Right.
Normally
yes, for sure.
it'd be stupid not to sell. But there's part of me that is like, okay, if I do hold it, will this card be the iconic card? Right? Because it might be the highest Ohtani ever sold.
Does he have a rookie logo? Like, is there a dynasty from his rookie year?
There is.
Okay.
But they're so underrated, which I think. And there was so many opportunities, but there was never like a Logo Man, right? And then of a meaningful game too.
This is legit. Because it's the Logo Man from his uni from that game, right? Like game used.
But then the question becomes, is like non-rookie cards a thing now? Right? So this is where like there's a lot of questions. So thinking about it, it's like I probably would sell because there's too many variables to make it go down. But I would. There's part of me that would want to hold it.
Yeah. Definitely a 6-figure card. So
easily.
Easily. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So if I decided to hold, I hope my wife never hears this podcast. She'll be like, "Why didn't you sell?" But that's all.
She doesn't know you even that you even pulled it.
Yeah, right? that's rule number 1, Clark.
Unless we film it in Hyung's studio and we put it on YouTube and then it goes viral and then it somehow comes back onto her feed. She's like, "Wait, is that Clark?" Yeah, no, it's I know, this is a good question. You know what? I'll put a poll out there once this episode comes out. All right, so I know the chances of hitting a monster card are slim. We all know that, but let me ask another question then. What are the chances that one of us here in this podcast picks up an Otani card this year? You know, we always talk about it, and I think last year we discussed in detail how many of his big Otani cards just keep hitting higher floors.
Right.
That's like the reality, right? And I've included in my hobby resolutions list for 2025. But man, if I'm honest, I'm not sure I would pull the trigger still because I feel like I'll always be waiting for and hoping for a deal
Right.
at some point. But over the last 2 years, it's just been going up, like the bigger cards.
Right.
So
And I think we've been saying this every year. This is the year to get the Ohtani auto, but then it's overpriced, and then it keeps on increasing. So if we bought the Ohtani card 3 years ago, I guarantee you would have sold it for the profit, right? And then you want to get a better Ohtani, but then it's just the same kind of framework. But for me, it's just be ready, I think, because I think there's so many Ohtani autos out there right now as well that you are seeing obviously a massive surge of demand over supply, and there is a time where correction will take place because, then it goes down to, okay, how many autos were created in 2018, 2019, 2020 where it's his original kind of like auto? Because I think that is the most demanded regardless. Obviously the kanji auto is kind of like the number one demanded auto for Shohei just because of the scarcity. And then it becomes the 2018 to 2020 auto. And then he has his new auto, which is another thing because now you have the Dodgers uniform with an auto. So there's a demand for that, right? So, and this is all dependent on Shohei doing Shohei things. So the moment Shohei doesn't do Shohei things, what happens to the market? That's the question because he's been going at it since he won the first MVP when Vladdy, was up there as well. And he hasn't stopped. He's done
that's true.
Like stupid stuff in the last 3 years that it's almost like when is the price surge going to stop? And we haven't seen. So there has to be a correction. There has to be a correction because in this marketplace, it's all marketplace, no matter how good it is, if that stops. If Michael Jordan stops, for instance, being relevant, that hype dies down regardless of how good you were. So it's just a matter of time for me. So it's I think it's more making a smart decision of, like any other investment, it's like, do you believe that this is a good buy? Not necessarily where the potential is, because I think any investor will know that you make money on the buy, not the sell. So it's that focus of, can I buy this at a fair market value where there's good projection out of it, as opposed to, buying out of emotion, saying, okay, here's the fear of missing out. I gotta buy Ohtani auto this year, and then you overpay for an Ohtani that might not have that much legs in the future, right? So I think it's just a matter of, what's the right Ohtani card, and then honing on that and kind of like pulling the trigger there. Because I still think there are some valued Ohtani cards out there. There's a lot of hyped Ohtani cards, so you're going to see a surge of price there. So yeah, I'm always down to, purchase if the price was right, if the time was right. And there's a lot of factors with Ohtani, but yeah.
For sure. What do you think, John?
I mean, for me personally, likely not. And it's not really a reflection of, I feel that it's not the right time to chase Ohtani. Maybe it is. I'm like Young. There has to be some semblance of correction at some point, right? Like tongue in cheek kind of joked about 60-60, but like really realistically 50-50 for him to like achieve that again. It's possible, but if you're a betting man, it's more probable that it won't happen again. Maybe it will. Um, is it possible that he goes down with another season-ending injury? Like that could be possible. So I would imagine there has to be a correction, but man, this guy continues to prove us wrong. So it's one of these things. You're kind of damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But me
Yeah.
personally, you guys know that I've been wanting to chase a Crosby. So
Hmm.
I'm still honed in on that. I'm trying my best to stay on target. But you never know. Like if a good Otani comes up and it's a good deal. But the thing is that you guys know, like we go to these shows, like a good deal on Otani doesn't show up because the Otani is the money maker, right? So that's why we never end up pulling the trigger because there is no awesome buy for Otani. And I think at this point, the three of us, we're not gonna just go and get any Otani. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
our target is not $1,000 Otani. It's not a 2,000. It might not even be a 5,000. Like you guys are, we're if we want an Otani, we're gonna want like one of the big boy Otanis. Like we're talking 10,000, real one auto red ink, like something big. We're
Yeah.
not. We won't be satisfied with like even a gold out of 2018 or 2017. Like at this point
Is that foreshadowing?
that's
Is
something
that
we're satisfied.
foreshadowing a group buy? A group buy, 10K each.
Well, let's ask our chat group, see if anyone else is in.
Well,
I may be interested in
I'm
that.
sure some people would be in on that.
All right, well,
But yeah,
we'll discuss. But all your points are valid. I just feel like this is Groundhog Day. I feel like we've had this conversation before. I'm showing you a card ladder chart of Otani's
Jeez,
index.
that's
Oh,
a sell.
man.
We said it was a sell here. We said it was a sell here. We said it was a sell here. And now we're here, right around here. I'm just I don't know.
I think
I don't know what to think.
I think yeah, it's too inflated. Like we're at peak, right? Peak of
Yeah.
multiple 4 years. So for me, it's like, yeah, it still has value, but true value, I don't know, man. Like it's just really, really. I was looking at Otani autos like just before our recording, and I was just like, geez, man, some of these cards, like
It's
nobody
outrageous.
wanted these cards, and now they're selling for
Right.
like $5,000. Like I seen a PSA 9 Topps Finest 2018 rookie auto base. And it's a nice card. It's hitting image and stuff like that. That a PSA 9 sold for $5,000. And, just even like a year and a half ago, that thing was like 2.5K, 3K, right? For a PSA 9. And that was pushing it too, where people are like, 3K is steep. And then one just sold for 5K after a year. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's the Otani market. And here's the thing: it's like now that he has exclusivity too, how many more Otanis are going to flood the market? We talked about Victor Wembanyama, how many autos he has, which was respectable because considering Steph Curry has the same amount of autos in his rookie season as Victor, it's not it's not as bad as it seems. So my curiosity is how many Otani autos were produced in 2018. And then
Yeah.
if it's under 10,000, I think that's the buy.
Yep. Man. Last question before we wrap up this Friday episode. Any lower end tops? Like I'm looking at the Topps Chrome right now, the 2018. I mean, would you target any of those? I know it's not something that we're talking about big, higher end cards, but just for regular collectors that just want one,
100%.
what's a good one?
I think long term, there's so many opportunities in non-autoed cards for Otani.
Right.
I think paper has been undervalued for the last 3 years. A lot of paper parallels that haven't really jumped up as much as the autos. I think the autos are the most demanded. But yeah, I think there's great buys if you monitor rare cards. If you look at all paper parallels, for instance, you could have got like a Independence Day. I remember like an Independence Day red jersey Topps update PSA 10. We are looking at it and it went on bids like a couple years ago, closed at $2,500. Like stuff like that where it's just like
Yeah.
that's such a great buy at the time. So I think there's a lot of cards like that. And then I remember John had the Sapphire a while ago. and you sold it years ago, the Topps Chrome Sapphire, and you got pretty decent money. I think it was like $3,000 or $3,500 or something like that.
I got 4,500.
So the BGS 10 I think sold for like $5,000 recently. So for me, it's like I would have said John won out on that deal, selling it 2-3 years ago, and whoever bought that card 2-3 years ago wouldn't see so much of a bump, for instance. But
yeah.
And I had the blue refractor at one point, a PSA 10, and I sold it for peak 2 at the time. So, and it hasn't really gone up too much. So I feel like it's more truer in terms of value, these non-autoed cards. So I would lock down something that is numbered. It doesn't have to be a PSA 10. But of a main Ohtani card that has good value and long-term potential. Because at the end of the day, if you look at like even the Topps update of 2011 of Mike Trout, his black sold years ago, and that's out of 67 for like 30 grand or something, a BGS 8.5. So to me, it's like those cards have legs. It's just a matter of when to the right collector, right? So
Yeah, I would. If you're not going to chase auto, certainly stick to like rookie flagship. That would definitely be some advice. Even though rookie flagship hasn't like really taken off recently as much as autos. For me, I also like non-rookie year real one autos. So like 2019 real one, 2020 real one. It's got that classic look. It's paper on card. I mean, they used to be great value buys. I don't know what they sit at now. I haven't checked. I'm sure it's pretty expensive. But there's a couple that I regret not buying. You know, like there was like a second year red ink PSA 10, you know, and I think it was at like $900. Like those are stuff that we totally should have. Yeah. I mean, we should have picked up any Ohtani. Let's be real. Like anything would have been great. But I like those ones in terms of like on the autograph side. Just sticking to like a well-known, you know, not like a Topps Chrome Black auto, nothing like that, but stick to some of the classics like Topps Heritage, Topps Chrome, you know. Yeah. Even sorry, like a like a Dodgers Uni auto would be. I mean, those are probably massively expensive, but like that's also something that I think could hold some pretty good long-term value.
Definitely, I agree. Yeah. No, that's all good advice. I was just looking at some of the more like the flagship and more popular cards, like the 2018 Topps number 700, even the pitching like base paper PSA 10. The pop count's 9,500, so it's still under 10,000. I would have expected more, but it's more volatile, right? Like the peak of that was 300, just over 300. It's gone down to
180ish,
$100 in August of 2024. And then at the end of the year, it went back up to 200. So it's always fluctuating, but I think there's plays there. Whereas what I showed you guys before, the auto, they just keep going up because it's just, you know, rarer and the demand continues to grow. But there are definitely plays in the lower end side of things. And like you were saying too, I was looking at the Independence Day, and you know they're not $10,000, but like a 2019, kind of to your point as well, John, non-rookie year. Some of these cards look really nice, like red Independence Day background, like has a color match kind of feel, and a PSA 10 of that sold for $2,750 just a few days ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like compared to $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 cards, this is more doable for more collectors.
And you could extrapolate the data with like guys like Steph Curry, LeBron James, you know, second year cards that are super rare that you don't see that super collectors get. So I think they're great buys at the end of the day if you're looking at it long term, right? Who knows when second year cards will go up, but long term, I think they will retain value for sure.
Agreed. All right, there you go. If you don't have $20,000 to spend on an Ohtani card, especially for 2025, you got options. All right, that's the end of this Friday episode. We'll have a brand new one for you on Tuesday. Talk to you guys then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU@Recess. You can also check us out at 5cartguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.